you think my mid laner's a dog, B1-0 is fine.
I think he is, bro.
Again, if you think it's fine, obviously that wasn't the case, because if my mid's a dog, what the fuck's yours? But
Northwood with the Gen G Baron buff at their backs, marching their way into the base. They're the better team today. History will repeat itself.
Shout out to Ole Miss's mid laner. He's boosted by Galio and Aso.
The University of St. Thomas didn't have it in them. They couldn't go top 4. They couldn't beat St. Louis University. Well, they just did it in a 3-0 sweep.
All right, everybody, welcome into Running the Rift's coverage of the 2024 Collegiate League of Legends Championship. We just saw a match that was really crazy because there was a split prediction between pretty much everybody. Fisher 3-0 swept St. Clair College, and now what has been lauded and will certainly deliver as the matchup of the tournament, Ole Miss taking on St. Louis University. My name is Yanni. I am joined by RMC. RMC, it truly is one final test for both of these teams.
It is, Yanni, and just like every final exam, every final test I've had in my life, it feels like it crept up way too soon. We look at these names, Ole Miss, SLU. These are teams we expect to see in the top 4, the final 4. Let's remind everybody here, we're still in the round of 8. This is the lower bracket. This is elimination. This is not where these teams should have met up.
Thank God for double elimination, right? Let's be quite honest. The first time it's been done in CLOL history. And what a better tournament to have it in, right? You're getting a matchup like this when with all the stakes being super high. And take a look at the bracket for yourself. Northwood taking out Ole Miss, sending them to the low bracket. UST versus SLU, a match that I think everybody expected to be a lot closer. Well, UST, they broke out the brooms too.
Yeah, and likewise, when you look at what happened to Ole Miss versus Northwood, everyone's expecting Northwood to lose. And not only did they win, Yanni, they swept Ole Miss again for the second year in a row. And Ole Miss and Northwood, they were talking a lot of smack back and forth. Understandably so. For Ole Miss, now that they're down here, having been swept, now that SLU is down here, having been swept, this test, it feels like a much, much harder test than what we'd otherwise have expected. It's not just knowing the answers right now. You've got to have the right mental to show the stuff that you've studied.
And it's not just one test. It's going to be multiple tests. Looking ahead, take a look at who they have to play against next. The winner of this series plays against Winthrop. That's got to be really scary, but obviously the players focused on the task at hand. Also, keep in mind on the Salty Runback channel right now, UST versus Northwood is currently going on. That and our current match are the last 2 games for this weekend. Before we press on, we do have to say goodbye to one of these teams. But the good news for UST and Northwood is they do have the extra life.
Yeah, kind of similar situation to what happened yesterday to Ole Miss and SLU as well. Of course, the matches have already happened, as we've mentioned. Maryville did sweep Winthrop prior on the Salty Runback pod, and on here, this channel here, Running the Rift with Goro and TDS earlier, Fisher did also sweep Saint. So it feels like a bit of a sweepy weekend, Yanni, and I'm curious to see if that continues here today, because I'm going to be honest, with the way these two teams play, it does feel like momentum is a thing that matters a lot. When a team starts getting hot, they do tend to take over. On paper, this should be close, but given what we've seen this weekend, I don't know what to expect anymore.
I don't either, and I'm so happy that you mentioned what we've seen this weekend, because what we have seen this weekend and last weekend would not have been possible without the lovely people who donated and spread the word too. If you didn't have the means to, there were plenty of people liking and sharing the GoFundMe. Please, if you do have the means to, go to that link below. Please donate. Every little bit helps to continue to push this project forward. And we really want to thank everybody. And special thanks to Gen G and Ole Miss for partnering with us. This would not be possible without them and all of you. RMC, you had mentioned it's been a sweepy weekend. Well, these teams that we're seeing today, they looked a little bit sweepy the other day because they must have been rubbing the eye boogers out because they didn't show up.
Yeah, unfortunately for them now, or fortunately, I guess, since there is a double elimination bracket, they do have a second chance. But Yanni, they have no time left to cry anymore. Loser of today, as you pointed out, goes home. No more third chances. This is already your second chance. And we look at these rosters, when you look at these teams, look at these players, they're all incredibly dedicated players. All of them are incredibly driven. They're here for a reason. And for these players, I don't think anything but first place is a success for them.
Yeah, this is why it's such a surprise that they're here in the round of 8 and one of them has to go home. All of these guys are big grinders on either side. Take a look at the SLU roster as the perfect example. These guys just absolutely have what it takes. You see guys like Winnie, who is a crazy grinder, Skytech, who is just coming back after a little bit of a layoff. And then Surdy, Darkwings, and Aaron. I mean, Surdy was a guy that we expected to see at LCS at this point in the year, right? This is a roster from top to bottom that expects nothing but perfection. Everybody was lauding them as likely the second best team in CLOL.
Yeah, because if you look at this team as well, if you follow Tier 2 League of Legends, you follow NACL, these guys are going to look real familiar to you, right? 80% of this team is currently playing in the NACL. Winnie, Darkwings, Aaron's all playing on Wildcard, Surdy on that FlyQuest Challenger roster. And Yanni, the sheer talent these guys have. Now, the downside, of course, for this roster, and I think we saw it yesterday against UST, is the fact that while they are playing at a very high level individually, they don't have time to play together that much. Sure, Winnie, Darkwings, and Aaron, they're all on the same NACL team, but Surdy isn't. And Skytech isn't currently playing in the NACL, was playing in the qualifiers with FlyFam instead. So this team, they've had an accelerated schedule where they need to start coming together, need to play together more as a team rather than as a set of very talented individuals.
Yeah, and let's take a look at the Ole Miss roster, because we'd be remiss if we did not mention them at all, because a lot of these players want to be where a lot of the players on SLU currently are. These guys trying to fight through the open qualifiers, made it to the promotion tournament, could not get the job done, but still an incredible roster from top to bottom. Stray, the former LLA standout, Icelandic Hero, who has been one of the most up-leveled players from the start of the year, along with the mid laner Uncle Sam, and of course, as everybody lauds, the best bot lane in CLOL, Shogo and Rhino.
Yes, Shogo goes, so does the rest of this team. And Yanni, I do want to talk a little bit more about Stray as well. I mean, Stray, a player, as you mentioned, coming from the LLA, and not only did he play in a Tier 1 league, but on top of that, he actually went to MSI in 2022, representing the entire region, where they did manage to get some wins as well there, most notably against Detonation Focus Me at that time, the representative from Japan. So this roster, they've got a lot of individual talents as well, and what I have liked from Ole Miss, what we've seen from them throughout the collegiate season, has been the growth and sort of the teamwork that they come through. Yes, Shogo might be the shining star for this team, but for every protagonist you've got to have a supporting cast, and the rest of Ole Miss have always done a great job propping Shogo up.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Stray solo killed Faker. Just want to put that out there. But as you mentioned, for every protagonist like Shogo, there has to be an antagonist. And there were some choice words that members of SLU had in an interview held with Mag Dewey last week. Check it out.
Yeah. Well, any shout outs? Like, yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Ole Miss's mid laner. He's boosted by Galio and Aso and Stan Mastatio.
Yeah, just also shout out to my mom. And I don't know what he was talking about, but we'll see Ole Miss in top 4, and hopefully we're gonna back it up. You know, what else? Anything?
And what do you want to say? They're gonna lane swap 3 times because the top doesn't have hands. So I say 3 because they're gonna get 3-0.
That's it. Hey, that's okay. No problems at all. Aaron, any final thoughts on the round of 16 and potentially headed into?
You can't help but laugh, man. I mean, I love some of the words that were slung around during that. My favorite, though, had to be when Aaron goes, shout out to my mom. No, that was great.
Isn't that why we're running that video right now, Yanni? Because it's Mother's Day. What? Happy Mother's Day. Aaron just got the perfect timing for it.
Yes, it turns out we don't care about the trash talk. We care about Mother's Day, you know. And, you know, as a short little aside, make sure you go show all your love to your mothers if possible. Do want to take a look at what kicked off, so that kicked off the beef, right? On a level of Kendrick versus Drake, because take a look at what we've put together from the lovely website of formerly known as Twitter, man. Just absolutely everything. I love Colomer's point in the top left-hand corner. Good luck playing against us. Our style has evolved into being absolutely, quote, degenerate brain damage. Well, Colomer, you are certainly correct, as your team is now in the lower bracket. Tell me, what's your favorite thing that's been said between everybody?
Oh man, okay, kind of peripheral to this is actually the Kangas quote about like, hey, $1 on Ole Miss with like the monkeys like kind of hopping around right now. Because yeah, the way they are yapping, it's kind of hilarious. If the players play as fiery as they do, talking on Twitter, Yanni, I'm very excited for this matchup because they're just kind of going at each other. I'm going to be honest, there's some things here where like, I'm not even sure what's happening anymore between these guys. And we should also note, there probably is more Twitter trash talk happening between these players, between these teams. This is just what we could find. And I'm terrible at social media. So that tells you a lot about, how much they're going at each other here.
Yeah, and just for those who may not know, Ray Chu, an analyst for Ole Miss, and then Nick Chu, the director for SLU. And, you and I, when we were doing some homework earlier, we saw that Surdy and Uncle Sam were in a solo queue game on opposite sides. So there might even be a couple of nuggets of trash talk that we might not even be able to see. And let me tell you, this trash talk has been pretty valid because if you take a look at some of the plays that occurred yesterday, we have some interesting highlights for you. This trash talk may be very valid.
Brain damage, I believe, was what kind of came through from them. To be fair, yesterday, again, they got clean swept. Ole Miss, they were also kind of, they had some beef with Northwood, which kind of made it really, really fun. I'm curious if we see it again. But really, Icelandic Hero, as well as Uncle Sam, did struggle quite a bit. But SLU wasn't without problems of their own either, unfortunately. And yeah, as you can see for them, we were kind of talking a little bit about in the top side 30, being a huge player. Well, yesterday he kind of got focused down a bit, and you can talk the trash you want about Uncle Sam, but 30 was kind of similar traits yesterday.
Yeah, it really wasn't that hot for the side of SLU. It seemed like UST did a really good job with lane swaps in Game 2 and Game 3 to really keep them off balance. And speaking of, RMC, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the team that lost Shogo UST?
Yeah, Shogo did indeed leave the back-to-back winning current reigning champions UST, and Shogo's been talking smack about how he was the reason why they've won. I mean, it feels like they've got a bit of an opportunity right now, right? Because guess who knocked down SLU to this point? Shogo's former team.
Yeah,
UST.
Shogo's former team. Doesn't look like they're missing him a whole lot because they have a great replacement in Array, and we cooked up a little something here on what's the feelings of UST probably ever since that happens.
Picture's worth 1,000 words. Yeah, I think that meme explains itself right there.
Yeah, man. UST clearly their relationship ended with Shogo, and Array is their new best AD carry. Now, that's not to say that Array is performing better than Shogo or anything like that, because Shogo is one of the best performing AD carries in CLOL. And just take a look at this head-to-head that we have between him and Aaron. The stats speak for themselves, RMC.
And funny you should say that, Yanni, because as much as we're talking about Shogo, Aaron has been quietly putting up some absolutely monstrous numbers as well. He's beating out Shogo right now in kills and assists, and he's been doing it with a lot of early game champions, things like the Kalista, like the Lucian, like the Varus taking over a lane as well. Now we know Shogo can do that. He's got Draven in his back pocket. He's been playing things like Caitlyn as well. So I'm very curious to see how this bot side goes and whether we get that sort of, Kalista, Lucian, Caitlyn, early game control matchups, or whether we see Shogo kind of go towards that late game skilling, which he has done, did try against UST, even though it didn't quite work there.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is that you just see two completely different play styles, aside from the Kalista, that are similar but different at the same time. Shogo is not afraid to fight on some of these scaling picks like the Aphelios, like the Zeri, right? So even if you're Aaron and you've got Varus and you've got, Lucian or something like that, Shogo and Rhino will not care, and they will continue to fight you to the ends of the earth. And speaking of fighting, because this is a match, right? This is a best of 5. We had to get the poll. We had to take the temperature of the room. RMC, I want to, you see anything out here that you find pretty interesting?
Yeah, it's a pretty split vote, actually. And I think there's actually more believers in Ole Miss, surprisingly. But it's very, very even, as you can see across the board there. So I think that kind of tells you how this matchup could go any which way.
based Axeman87, by the way, I think that my vote was a little knee-jerk
with
reaction.
Axe.
Yeah, I think it was a little knee-jerk reaction. I still think SLU will win the series, but I don't necessarily think it will be a 3-0 series. As RMC, I believe that we are ready to get into the draft here for this game. Game 1 of this, what is sure to be an amazing series, man. I mean, I want to know. I didn't see your prediction up there. Well, what's your prediction?
So, full disclosure, I overslept a little bit, didn't get my predictions in time, so they didn't make the graphic. I am calling for a SLU 3-1 on this one here. I do think that SLU mechanically very, very, very strong. And the big question for me is whether or not Ole Miss can bounce back from their loss yesterday as well. While both teams did get swept, I feel like Ole Miss has had a lot more mental damage because it was to Northwood. And speaking of Ole Miss here, they've opted for the blue side with the early Ashman.
Yeah, Ash has just been a champion that it feels like every collegiate team has been playing to great effect in the support role. And you just got to get it off the board, right? It creates a really unfavorable bot lane for you. And if you're Ole Miss, that's the last thing you want. You want Shogo to be able to be as comfortable as possible. You don't need to ban out a ton of things for him, but anything that helps him out a little bit will really help your team win the game.
Especially against Skytech, who's one of the premier sort of marksman support players. He's playing the Varus, the Ashe, all the weird pigs coming through. On the side of SLU, though, I love that we see the ASOL ban come through. Sturdy was talking about Uncle Sam, talking smack about ASOL and Galio. I'm curious if we see the Galio ban. I don't think it needs to be banned, but the ASOL and Jinx certainly respect to make sure that, hey, the skilling from Ole Miss, they don't get to get these sort of, just skill up to infinity and just eventually win game style champions.
One of the interesting bans that I think, at least, is this Nico, right? That Ole Miss is taking away from the side of SLU. Pretty solid flex, as a lot of supports have been playing it down to the bottom lane, but it was a champion that Uncle Sam played at least a solid bit of that I thought he looked pretty decent on. So, it's interesting to see what strategy Ole Miss is coming out with.
And we do see the Twisted Fate to round things out, and that does leave the first pick open, the Varus. Obviously, bot lane priority, a huge thing, Yanni, when we're talking about Aaron, when we're talking about Shogo. But I do want to talk about champion, which didn't hit the ban list, which is in the back of everybody's mind. Skarner is still open right now.
Yeah, Skarner was, I believe, coming into yesterday, 11-5 in 16 games. Couldn't quite pull the stats in time, unfortunate for us, but a very high win rate champion. I know won a couple of games. We did see the Varus get taken by Ole Miss, bit of a takeaway here from SLU, but they respond with the Senna Edge.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Yanni, it doesn't look like we're going to get things like the Lucian, the Kalista sort of early game, just trying to hammer that lane and win. But, Senna is something Aaron has played a lot. Now, I do want to highlight as well, because it is a thing that exists, lane swap meta. Originally, the current meta came out as a way to respond to Senna, who can't take turrets very rapidly. I'm curious if Ole Miss go for the lane swap. So far, nothing they've done really indicates that. They do, however, get their hands on that. Frankly, feels like an overpowered champion in that Skarner.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think there's any better way to put it. This champion is so strong right now. There's a reason why every team is picking it up. That Skarner going to go over to Ole Miss. Listen, you have to expect big things from Icelandic Hero in this game.
Yeah, I'm actually curious if they do send it jungle or top lane. Both of them have been playing Skarner in solo queue. Icelandic Hero, though, has been on a huge Lee Sin kick. I think he's played 6 out of his 8 games so far in the CLOL Championship on that Lee Sin. So I don't know if they want to just give up that Lee Sin so far and just switch over to Skarner. I'd personally be down for that. We did see the Azir being picked up for Dark Wings as well. Well-known control mage player. It feels like such a fitting pick for him. Very comfortable pick. And they're continuing to ban out Uncle Sam's champ pool with that Galio.
One thing I want to talk about is this is a very similar comp that SLU had yesterday in Game 1 against UST, where they had an early lead, they had the scaling, and they weren't actually able to finish the game. They ended up taking that Game 1 loss, so they're looking to pilot the same composition. They feel like they've got enough confidence, like, hey, last night was an aberration, right? We're going to come in today, and we're going to play our game, and we're going to play it right.
Okay, the rest of the bands rounding out, the Urgot, the Vi, the Sejuani being taken out as well. Now, for winning on the side of SLU, there's still the aggressive picks, things like the Xinjiao that can come through that he's done so incredibly well on. They don't pick the jungle, and instead they blind the top lane. for the side of Surdy, and a Cassante as well, and an utterly immovable object. This feels like they're trying to pinch Stray's pull a little bit. Stray, his carries have been Urgot and Twisted Fate. Other than that, it's Ujir, Scion, Cassante. So the Cassante feels like a takeaway to shrink that further.
Yeah, and especially because they don't know what Stray is going to go with here. It's not like you can be super upfront and be like, well, we'll take a Rumble early or something like that. I like the fact that they're going to give Winnie the lay of the land and know which jungler he's going to go up against. We're seeing that Jarvan lock in, so that means that Winnie is well aware, working with perfect information, and as a jungler, something you always want.
Yep, and we also now know that Skarner that we were talking about, Yanni, is indeed going to the top side, and it will be the J4, kind of similar to Lee Sin in terms of what you want to do in the early game, get the pressure down, get that gank in rolling, and you know what, we set up hype. You know, Winnie, you get counter pick, you get to choose what you want to run into. Picks the most bland, vanilla, blindable jungle in the game, picks a Maokai.
You know, I don't think there's really anything wrong with it. I actually very much like it. Slew is leaving themselves in a position where it's going to be hard for them to get behind in around the mid game where they faltered yesterday against UST, and should allow enough time for them to scale as late as they want with this Azir and Senna picks.
Yeah, and with the Maokai as well, I mean, it's bland, it's vanilla, but it is very effective. You're talking about stalling out games, Yanni. Maokai is one of the best at it. With that ultimate, you can stop engages. With those saplings, vision has always been such a key point of knowing when you can look to engage and when you can't. Now, on the side of Ole Miss, though, I want to talk a little bit about this Quay that is coming through for your Uncle Sam. He has played it before. It is very effective into the Azir. You do outrange the Azir and can poke out, and you've got good skilling as well. So, as much as Slew might want to go for skilling and sure center skills infinitely, I think Ole Miss are okay with that and can kind of go toe-to-toe at pretty much any phase of the game.
Ole Miss, they've got a draft that they're quite happy with, and they are heading into the top lane to try and scout something out here. We'll see if they want to go the way that UST did the other day and kind of cause problems for Surdy, who has been spotted out here.
Okay, but Surdy does spot them safely. It's not going to get punished for it. Actually sees all 5 members of Ole Miss, so Slew know that they can walk in with impunity, get all that vision down aggressively. My big question is, are they going to try and respond to this, or is Ole Miss going to be able to steal this buff away?
Well, Ole Miss is just going to come in, get the super deep vision, but no warding. So I am curious to see which direction they're going to go. It feels like they'll probably play the lane straight up at this point. Good deep vision from Slew as well.
And no shenanigans. Yanni, surprisingly, no lane swaps whatsoever. I know I kind of suggested there might be one with the Senna Tom Kench. I'm curious if they kind of didn't opt for that. Skarner, I think, is actually a perfectly decent champion to look for that lane swap with. But I do like the idea of trying to pit Shogo Rhino into Aaron Skytech, because I think Shogo, one of his biggest strengths, yes, he can be a great carry, is actually his laning prowess. And if you can abuse the lane hard enough, early enough, especially on a champion like Varus, shut down Aaron. I think that's more beneficial than kind of going for those 2v1 situations and trying to shut down a Cassante. I mean, Surdy's not on a carry for a change.
Yeah, it's a little surprising to not see Surdy on a carry, but Slew is more than happy with the team composition they've put together, and I like the way they're going to approach this game. It seems like it's going to be nice and slow and steady for them. Both these teams, remember, getting swept and now facing elimination. You have to wonder what that does to your mentality, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you're writing your final test, that one final test, you got to pace yourself. You don't want to go too hard right from the get-go. As I say that, the Rhino hits 2 and goes all the way in.
Yeah, Ole Miss, they only know how to go hard. Skytech low, but he manages to find a way out.
Heal from Aaron as well, just barely able to keep Skytech alive. Now, keep in mind, Skytech is running TP, which, again, normally sort of a lane swap style pick that comes through, but it does mean that Skytech can tank that up, TP right back to lane, and won't miss a beat.
Well, Stray hitting level 3 up here on Surdy. I don't know if we're going to expect to see that much occur, but Skarner does so much damage, man. I mean, you know, when you get a Cassante that low this early, you know you're champ strong.
They nerfed Skarner in lane too to try and get him out of lane, and Stray's just still straight up beating them with the strength of it. Winnie, though, looking for an early gank into the bot lane.
Oh, this is a problem. Shogo's got no summoners, and Winnie is here. They're very low. Ole Miss, they do play a very greedy style, and it looks like it's going to bite them in the butt. Shogo will fall. It'll be first blood.
But Icelandic Hero is waiting in the wings, and heroes always arrive fashionably late. Winnie will spot him out, though, and yeah, there's enough CC. That J4 isn't going to find anything.
Not much more that Icelandic Hero can do here except show up, deal a little damage, and say, hey, don't you forget about me. But getting beat on the first gank has to be tough. And getting that first kill in the bottom lane, setting Shogo behind, exactly what Slew wanted.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Shogo and Rhino, if you are going to play that aggressively, you kind of need to drop those wards to try and get control. But I think Rhino, going with the sweepers early, wanted to try and just deny vision more than try and set up that safety. And Winnie skipping camps, and that's fine. That's how Winnie likes to play. He's super aggressive in the early game. This time, though, spotted on a ward, kind of low on health.
I like what Icelandic Hero is doing here. This is in their playbook. Aaron trying to move over to heal up Winnie just a little bit, or at least get him out. Now it's a bit of a tussle for the blue buff, but Winnie gives it up.
Yeah, Rhino moving to back them up along with Shogo as well. Aaron won't be able to defend on that. So Winnie, for all the aggression that he likes, he does help get first blood, but he is going to get 3 buffed in exchange up top. Surdy getting forced out by Stray, and I'm getting a little bit worried. I don't think that's going to get better, and soon enough the junglers should be rotating up to that top side as well. Even if Surdy gets the back, even if he comes back full health, he has to be worried about being impaled and dragged out of safety.
Yeah, and speaking of people moving up, you already saw Icelandic Hero get here. Multiple flashes burnt. Winnie is very low. Uncle Sam is out of mana, but gives Icelandic Hero enough movement speed to drop the lance on the back of the Maokai.
I was not confident that Icelandic Hero was going to be able to pick that one up without the mana, but they make it work. And Winnie getting set further and further behind. Unfortunately, Darkwing, surprisingly for a change, not able to back up Winnie. A lot of Slew's success. A lot of times when we see Winnie and Darkwings together, one of the benefits is that Darkwings often goes out to support Winnie, even if he has to sack some of the CS sack, some of his lane pressure early. This time, though, very, very slow response compared to your Uncle Sam.
Yeah, and your Uncle Sam is one of the best at making sure that he's there to assist all of his teammates. He will be the one to also drop a bunch of waves, even when it's not beneficial for him. And it was just perfect timing there. We do see Stray hitting level 6 here, but it's already quite tanky because of that teleport, able to come back. 2 Ruby Crystals, too. I don't know if Stray's going to be able to get much more.
Oh, they're looking for the engage here.
Icelandic Hero in the area, and they are going to be able to lock down Aaron here. It'll be a nice kill there for Ole Miss, and Shogo is the one who gets it.
Flash was up and available for Aaron, but never had the chance to use it, unfortunately. The wall as well, the positioning couldn't quite get over. Now, Yanni, that gank from Icelandic, beautiful, and that's what you expect from a team that's built kind of around Shogo. You got to get those ganks into that bot lane, got to help Shogo. But for Surdy, that's a good thing, because we talked about how Stray hit 6. Well, Surdy at the time was level 5. I was expecting the gank up top. It would be a nice 2v1. Now Surdy is level 6. It's a lot more difficult to try and get the impale off properly.
Yeah, and one thing that's been great so far about Icelandic Hero is that while Winnie did get that first gank off, Icelandic Hero has responded perfectly. No grubs have been taken quite yet, although Winnie's already on top of them. Ole Miss get the first dragon of the game. They're liking the way this game is trending early.
Yeah, and they've even sent Aaron, up from Slew to be able to secure this. It is just going to be the handshake dragon for those Void Grubs. And meanwhile, Shogo is just going to farm up a storm in this bot lane. Skytech is kind of scared of just being in that 1v2 situation when you are a melee champion.
Yeah, it is not a spot that you want to be in, so he's just kind of waffling around like, hey, I'm Tom Kench, I'm in the area, everything's all good. This does mean that Shogo is able to increase the lead, and look at where the wave is, man. Skytech really doesn't have any way to get over there and break this freeze.
Yeah, he wants to pick that up, but you can see Rhino is just completely zoning him, saying that, hey, you don't get to walk up till Aaron actually gets here. Now, Aaron is coming in, but he'll be a bit behind this wave, and I'm curious to see if that might cause a bit of a level discrepancy in this bot lane, especially for Rhino and Shogo. Level 6 gives them access to a lot of CC that lets them engage, lets them look for that kill threat.
Nice little poke there, as you can see. They aren't afraid of anything in that bottom lane, Shogo and Rhino. Listen, you get Shogo in a bit of a lead, he will try to take you to the promised land, and already with a kill under his belt. Again, more than happy with that Ole Miss, but they do need to start pushing the pace a little bit. Remember the scaling RMC.
That's fair. Both teams have it strong, but Slew, I think, right now, a little bit weaker and do need a bit of time. Now, the other thing I do want to highlight for Slew as well is the vision control that they've put down. The 2 wards on the top side tracked Icelandic Hero and now Stray.
Yeah, they're going to look to make a play on the Stray. Stray will take him away, but the all-out all the way back. He's got to flash away. Grasping Root's gonna come out. The suppression will
turret.
not land on anybody. Turret trying to help him out. Stray very low, but Surdy will be able to finish him off.
And Surdy, you mentioned earlier, Yanni, that Surdy basically probably the best NA top laner we have right now who hasn't played in the LCS. And you're seeing it right there in the top side as well, how confident he is, low on health, doesn't matter, makes the play happen anyways, gets the aggression down. And Stray, this time, no TP, will lose that wave on the turret.
Hey, listen, all I saw there was NACL greater than LLA, man. Now, he did have a little bit of help, let's be honest.
I don't know what you're talking about. I just agree with the first statement. Better than LA. CLOL better than LA, I guess.
No lies detected. And you just take a look at the gold leads a little bit here. And Shogo and Rhino, they're about even, maybe even down just a little bit. So far, Ole Miss, despite getting a kill down there, despite having a CS lead down there, they need to do something else to try and really break this lead open, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. Trying to make a play onto Winnie, who gets knocked up. Chains of Corruption coming out as well. Devour from Tom Kench to take him back to the safety of his turret.
Yeah, and that's a good idea. That's a good play from Ole Miss. Winnie already used the ultimate to make that play happen up topside, so you knew it was a good target. Unfortunately, Skytech there at the Devour just able to kind of nullify that, and that's one of the reasons why you picked the Senna lane, right? Senna Tom Kench specifically, is to nullify a lot of the burst damage that can come through from the way of Ole Miss. Now, Icelandic Hero still looking to make action happen. He's got Rhino pushing up, but Shogo's still in lane.
Yeah, and luckily, I think Icelandic Hero is not going to go in for that. The blue buff will be secured for Winnie, because that would have been tough. Shogo wasn't really nearby. They will be able to get a plate out of it at the very least, but these aggressive plays from Ole Miss are just not really working right now.
I don't know, I really like this play actually, because this is still the Shogo show, right? Icelandic does fall behind, doesn't get blue buff. Kind of sucks for him. But we knew from the get-go that it was all about Shogo. If you can get Shogo that plate, that's a trade you're worth more than happy to make. If anything, I was a little bit scared when he smited early. I think there was like 45 health on that blue buff. I was worried Icelandic was actually going to be able to steal that away. And now Icelandic still able to move out a bit faster, still proactive, still closer to that top lane faster than Winnie.
Yeah, you mentioned it is the Shogo show. The weight of the world has been on his shoulders. He's already picking up his first item. It feels like they might be relying on him a little bit too much this game, as Surdy is going to walk into the jungle and get engaged on by Icelandic Hero, but Winnie is here. The Grubs have just spawned, so we'll see if there is a bit of a fight for them here. Ole Miss certainly don't want to give that many Grubs away to a team with Azir.
No, bot lanes have already started rotating, Yanni, and yeah, I expect to see a bit of a clash come through. Unfortunately for Slew, the vision that I was lauding them for has lapsed right now, so they will probably lose at least one of these Grubs, and potentially more if they don't commit to this soon.
It looks like Slew has been completely pushed off, so we'll see a 3-3 split. They might try to fight for this fourth one. Going in is Rhino. He's kind of cut off for now. Stray bringing everybody over to the side. Uncle Sam trying to do a lot of damage, but take a look at Shogo, who's just fine. Meanwhile, on the backside, Aaron untouched. Skytech still alive. A lot of low health bars. There's the ultimate coming out from Dark Winds. He's trying to deal so much damage. Shogo's got to try to kite away on the side. He can't take down Aaron, but he lives with a sliver of HP. Dodging out of the Dawning Shadow. Rhino bearing down on a priority target. And it's Uncle Sam with Dark Wings caught in a corner. A triple kill for Uncle Sam. A quadra kill for Uncle Sam here early on in game one.
Stop the clock! What happened to the Shogo show? Uncle Sam popping off out of nowhere, and this is a Hui! Yanni, this is not supposed to be where Hui starts to take over the game, feeding him 4 kills early. Suddenly, Ole Miss, they need to pivot a little bit. Shogo is going to be good. Shogo is going to be strong, but I love for them to play around this mid-game strength. And unfortunately for Slew, the fight started so well for them, but they committed so much resources into killing Shogo, wasn't able to take him out. And even there, you could see Darkwings was a little bit distracted, still wanting to try and finish that off, ate so much free damage.
They left Uncle Sam all alone. They said, we don't really care, man. You do you. Well, he did his, and he TikTok danced all over him. Dragon being started up here by Slew, but they're being forced away. Moving in is Icelandic Hero. They're going to catch out Winnie. Uncle Sam is getting another kill on the board. Aaron off to the side's in a lot of trouble, and Shogo's here to help clean him up too. Ole Miss is running Slew off the rift.
And we saw some of these problems happen yesterday for Slew, Yanni. The fact that communication we were talking about, sometimes it doesn't quite seem to click. And here, again, it didn't feel like it. Skytech was up, pushing up that top side, had teleport available. But the rest of the team didn't call for it. They just kind of walk into Ole Miss, and Ole Miss, they work together as a unit. They find the pick, and now they get the Dragon to boot as well. The second Drake of the game. So Ole Miss really kind of maximizing the objectives early game. You gave up Void Grubs, but it's only 3. There are no Void Mites. You got those Dragon stacking. You can continue to look to snowball that Dragon stacking.
This is exactly what Ole Miss needed to do before the scaling of Slew can get online. Winnie is super deep, caught in a Cataclysm. Uncle Sam over the wall, spiraling despair, but now he's caught in a corner with Darkwings. Uncle Sam getting low. They're trying to help him out, but he will go down. Meanwhile, it's Shogo dealing a lot of damage. Isolating Hero off on the side. He's going to fall. Down goes Surdy, but Shogo is caught in a corner, and he's running out of space. Aaron will survive, and Slew battle back.
And this time, it's Ole Miss caught a little bit out of position there. The fact that Stray was pushing topside, and Ole Miss kind of commit to that fight, which I don't know if they needed to. There was no real objectives for them to fight over, but Slew able to kind of brute force their way through that, and Yanni, the game at 14 minutes, dead even right now.
It's been a pendulum, RMC, back and forth we go. It was an excellent fight from Uncle Sam at first, but Darkwings realizing the priority target is Uncle Sam. It keeps him stuck in the wall with the red buff, and he had nowhere to go.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Shogo as well, Shogo wasn't quite really able to rip into the priority targets. His front line wasn't really there. A lot of times we see Shogo plus 4 shields. That's a valid composition for Ole Miss. This time, they don't have that, right? You've got Icelandic, you've got Rhino, you've got Stray, but Icelandic this early in the game isn't that tanky. Stray was up top, and Rhino unfortunately was trying his best to space, but one person can only hold back so many people. So great punch back from Slew. Now I'm curious what happens though in an open fight again, because so far these fights are so incredibly close. Herald is up and available, and Ole Miss is first to the move.
Yeah, it looks like they'll be able to clean up that objective if they want to. Looks like they don't want any part of it right now, RMC. I am a little surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, you had vision on where Aaron, Skytech, and Darkwings all were. So you knew you had the numbers advantage up on that top side. It's not too late for them to collapse, and they've set up a lot of vision. I think they're just trying to bait a little bit with it, but seeing Aaron kind of just walk off towards that bot side, surely they've got to do Herald now.
It looks like Icelandic Hero and Shogo are going to be able to take it out. Just wanted the mid push in. Uncle Sam forced off of this bottom turret because Slew bringing everybody down there. So they will at least trade first turret for this Rift Herald.
Okay, and that's the curious trade again. I think a lot of times I personally prefer the guaranteed turret because you take a Herald to help you take turrets. But at the same time, you can get multiple charges off with the Herald if you use it well. Straight immediately dropped into the mid lane. That turret probably not going to fall on this push, but only Skytech is here to try and defend and wave clear.
It might fall on this because of the Void Grubs, and the Rift Herald was still up. Icelandic Hero, okay, he's going to take it out. I thought he was going to take it out, but I wasn't 100% sure. So he'll be able to escape with relative ease.
Okay, so Icelandic just kind of resets the Herald a little bit. You know, it will get to push back up. Just kind of a getaway vehicle there. And for Slew, again, they're fine with the trade. The negative part for Slew is that they did lose their mid outer turret. So they are going to lose a little bit more control around these objectives. And given what we saw in the early game, Slew was a little bit late to those second set of Void Grubs and didn't even get to contest Drake. So losing the priority on that mid lane might come back to bite them.
Certainly it could, RMC. And RMC, you had mentioned it just a little bit ago, but we are still deadlocked, dead even. The objective trades resulting in pretty much just an even gold disparity. Yeah, it's like 2 or 100 depending on how you look at it, but you see that these teams are so evenly matched, and it is a damn shame that one of them is going to have to go home. But the way Game 1 is trending, I mean, there's always a chance we go the distance, my friend.
And can I point out too, you know, we talk about the trash talk that came through. Let's not forget, Surdy was trash talking Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam right now is the big player on Ole Miss. So, on one hand, Uncle Sam right now can cut back, but hold on.
Darkwings has been caught out, spiraling despair. The shield will be enough to keep him upright, and he will not take any additional damage. But this does mean there's a man advantage. The engage goes on to Uncle Sam. It's a bit of a split fight off to the side. Icelandic Hero going to be able to make sure everybody's out all right. Surdy trying to get away as well. Cassante, notoriously hard to take down, but they do burn his ghost. As you mentioned, teleport coming in from behind. Darkwing's no flash, but still has that Emperor's Divide. And he's ready to use it. He serves up only a Rel, who flashes away. Suppression goes onto the side. Doing some damage, though, is Shogo, because he's completely untouched. He's able to rifle away. Surdy, very low. Another auto will take him down, and it does. Darkwing's going to be the next target, because he's low on HP. Uncle Sam leading the charge. Tom Kench knocked up, goes down. Shogo gets a kill as well, and Slew once again being taken down by the Land Sharks.
Okay, Shogo, I know you didn't like hearing me talk up Uncle Sam, because as soon as we did, he drew all eyes right back to him. The instant flash as well to avoid the shuffle is what allows them to pump out all that damage. And fortunately for Slew, you've got a Senna right now. You don't have the damage it takes to fight front to back, and because Darkwings was the one who got shuffled, was the one who had to get devoured immediately, he wasn't pumping out the damage. Shogo was the entire time. Omis find the win to break the balance of this game.
The nightmare scenario for Slew, double scaling champions, and you are the ones that are behind very far at this point. We already talked about how strong Uncle Sam is, but now take a look at the gold for Shogo. He is the gold leader in the game. 8.4k, 1,300, I'm sorry, 1,100 over the second highest. That would be Surdy. But, I mean, yeah, the second highest in the game is Surdy. Like, if you're on the side of Slew, I mean, you know, sure, you're tanky, but that's about it.
Yeah, and normally we'd be like, oh, second highest goal in the game is 30. Yeah, let's go. He's a carry. He's not a carry this game. I know Kasante's got his own memes. Well, like, he's basically Ord. He can do anything. Yes, he can be an immovable brick that can carry games, but Shogo is built to shred. And so far in these fights, Surdy has not been able to threaten that back line. It's been Darkwings looking for the back, and right now Dark Knight is not equipped and ready to handle these backline threats. 20-minute spawn, and Icelandic has found Winnie. They're not looking to engage though. They just walk by, say hi.
Nah, he wanted the ward. He was like, oh, Winnie's here. I can go get this ward, man, you know. I like the way that Ole Miss rotated around. Uncle Sam was off on his own in the side lane with 3 members of Slew coming up to him, but Ole Miss running great protection here. Stray is going to carry Skytech away from this turret as a fight's going to break out here in the jungle. Surdy is all alone. Spiraling Despair is on him. Teleport coming in, but the Cataclysm takes him down. Off to the side is Darkwings. Can he find a way in? Icelandic hero goes down. Now the Consume coming out, that Devour, making sure Winnie can try to get away, but Ole Miss is trying to push forward. Suppression down on the Darkwings. He's completely caught out, and he falls. The Emperor's Divide ain't doing a darn thing.
And at the back, Aaron's free-firing, but look how little damage he's doing to Stray. Stray ate the entire thing, is still safe. Meanwhile, Shogo untouched, still threatening Hui, raining down all hell. Baron is up and available, but I don't think we can do it just yet.
Slew's got eyes looking in both directions. They look to the left and they see Uncle Sam. They look to the right and they see Shogo, and they don't know which one they need to kill.
Yeah, and at this point, Yanni, like you're talking about, it has to be Shogo. He's the one you need to take down. We were just talking about Surdy. Sure, he's got a lot of gold. Sure, he's got a lot of health. But in that fight, Shogo was utterly untouched. Surdy getting picked out early isn't that tanky against the shred of the Varus. And I want to talk up Stray a little bit as well, finding the Impale onto Darkwings. Because we can see right now, for Slew, with Nashor's Tooth, Darkwings is the one doing the damage. You look at Aaron, he's behind right now. He's not doing that much teamfight damage. So for Slew, there's a single target you need to take out. You take him out, you win the fight. Whereas for Slew, you need to take out Shogo and Uncle Sam. And it's not that easy either. Who's going into that backline for Slew?
I'm so happy that you mentioned Stray because he has been a consistent disruptor in these fights. Rhino as well deserves a lot of plaudits. 0-0-14, his engages have been on point, top notch, whatever axiom you want to use. He has been doing fantastic so far.
Yeah.
Ole Miss are cruising. They have about a 2,500 gold lead right now though, so it still isn't that far ahead.
Fair. And on top of that, as we mentioned, it's very early for Baron, so for Ole Miss right now, you're probably not looking at Baron to accelerate the game. You're looking to try and push these turrets. Turrets are low, Stray able to take the bot side. Top side outer's really low as well, and Rhino right now, Rhino's got to know, right? He's flirting with danger.
He's going to put in the ward, but he's going to get engaged on, but he is very tanky. Icelandic Hero on top of Darkwings. Devour coming down to try to get everybody away. From the side is Stray. There are 2 priority targets there, but Darkwings is able to slide his way out. Chains of Corruption misses, and here comes the potential counter engage. The Root's going down, but Slew is taking too much damage and not doing enough on the way back. Darkwing's down to half HP, and he's going to flash away from Stray. Icelandic Hero in the thick of things. Rhino with the Magnet Storm, a big stun, and now Slew is having a hard time trying to get away. There's the flag, but is there a drag? Stray trying to make things happen. Skytech off to the side, he's low. There's the Emperor's Divide, but Dark Wings will fall. Surdy, he's all out, but he's going out of the fight because he's back in the base. And now it's Aaron off to the side, all alone. No health left, and he's trying to run away, but he's run out of real estate. And Ole Miss continue to win fight after fight after fight.
And Yanni, look at Shogo's health bar. He's full health, wasn't touched whatsoever. Once again, Ole Miss's front line. It's enough. They don't need 4 people. They just need 2. And one of them just needs to be Skarner. And now with the health bars they have, they're going for this Baron. Forget too early. There's no one on Stu to stop them.
Absolutely not. They did have to burn a teleport to be able to secure this. Because Rhino was getting a little bit low, but I'm sure Ole Miss will gladly take that. Suited up with the Gen G Baron buff, 7,000 gold lead for them. It is their time to be able to take game 1 potentially.
TP coming through from Stray as well. Ole Miss, they get the Gen G Baron buff, and they don't even want to give up Dragon either. They're already in position to contest it immediately. And for Sue, you're down 7,000 gold. I don't think you can look to try and fight this.
And we didn't mention this, but they have to because it's Soul Point. This is going to be really bad for Slew. They need to find a way to take this away. Winnie and Rhino off to the side means the 4v4 for right now. That Spiraling Despair did go down, so Darkwings is at about half HP. Winnie going to drop his ultimate to try and make some disruption here. Dragon getting low, Uncle Sam getting low. He's been devoured. Magnustorm coming out, and Uncle Sam's okay. Shogo able to get the kill. Winnie's going to fall next. They managed to find Stray, but it doesn't matter. Darkwings is locked in a cage, and he is not doing just fine. It is Soul for Ole Miss.
So and Baron, only Aaron left alive, and right now Rhino's hunting this. Do we call this supportal combat? Because that is a Foxing Center, right?
I don't even know if it's combat. I think Rhino just wants to cause some problems here. He doesn't care if Aaron kills him because look at what's happening in the mid lane. The first inhibitor turret going to fall. The inhibitor going to go down next, and Ole Miss are going to wisely take it back to the base.
For that fight, 7k gold lead in favor of Ole Miss. Now we're staring down a 9k gold lead. Looking at the items here for Slew. Yomu's Ghostblade finally completed on Aaron, but I mean, that plus Opportunity plus Bloodsong, I'm only going to count that as 2.5 items here. Look over to Shogo, 3 full items. Darkwings finally completes the Leandries, but you look over to Uncle Sam, fully stacked Dark Seal. Crypt Bloom picked up as well. And if you're Slew, I don't want to say it's a GG go Knicks angle, but besides Ole Miss messing up under a turret, specifically under an inhibitor turret, I'm not seeing the comeback angle for Slew this game.
It's going to be really tough. A minute left on the Gen G Baron buff, and you know Ole Miss wants to use it. Rhino just getting aggressive to force everybody away, and there's really no way for Slew to be able to clear out these waves. Darkwings is on the top side, and even if he was here, these minions just take so much less damage.
Yeah, and they did that without Stray. Stray was sitting a screen away, you know, looking to try and find something over the wall. Now, this turret is a little bit harder to break because of the narrowness of the area. I'm looking for Stray to maybe look for an impale on anybody who steps out of position. A flash from Stray to stay safe.
Yeah, that is a pretty important flash, so no flash impale potentially, but Slew has to make a play because the minions are pouring into the base, but it's Rhino who makes the play first. Aaron's on the backside, he's alright, but Stray gets in and he's disrupting things. Tom Kent's trying to find a way out, but look at Shogo, look at Uncle Sam, they're just fine, and down goes Slew. Down goes Slew in this rivalry match. Ole Miss punches first as Slew is forced into their fountain. The minions are in, and Ole Miss is going to take game 1.
Okay, and all you Uncle Sam haters have to be silenced this game. The way was amazing. Shogo popping up on this Varus again. And Yanni, there's so many things Slew need to look at after this game. Just looking at draft alone, can you give over a first pick Varus and the Skarner being opened? Yanni, it's criminal. The Skarner not being picked first phase by either team, even more so.
It was mind-blowing. I mean, this champion has been so good in Stray, piloting it so effectively up in the top lane, was getting priority in lane early on. Really good stuff, making sure that Sturdy wasn't able to have too much of an impact in the laning phase. Obviously, it's just Cassante, not really that big of a deal, but really, I don't like the look that Slew had, right? They lost the first game yesterday on a scaling composition, and then they go and put their carry top lane player on a tank. It's just not what I would have liked to see out of them, and they're going to need a completely different look for game 2.
Yeah, agreed. And I think a lot of it, that bot lane, this is game 1 of the best of 5. And so you can afford to experiment a little bit there. I think Aaron picking the Senna was kind of see like, hey, can I just do the usual nullify this lane, look to play and scale, you know, put Sturdy on a bit of a nullifier as well and just kind of go for that late game? The answer is no. You don't beat Ole Miss by playing safe. You beat Ole Miss by kind of taking it to them or nullifying Shogo, and I need to see more pressure into that bot lane. That said, I think for Slew, one good thing I did see out from them was, yes, they messed up the first fight with coordination, not quite all being on the same page, being a little bit late to some of those early objectives. But as the game went on, Yanni, it did feel like they were coming together and playing better in those team fights, coming together as a team. So, you know what? They've got at least 2 more games. Hopefully that's enough for Slew to improve and give us that competitive series we're hoping for.
I'm sure they want a couple of more games than 2 at this point because they're going to need them. And as you mentioned, that coordination did start to come together for them a little bit, but it is just Ole Miss's team composition is just forces you to play a little discombobulated with, flying in on the Skarner causing problems, the Jarvan too, the spiraling despair making everybody spread out. So we'll have to see how these teams adapt as we are going to take a very short break. And when we return, we're going to come back with the Game 2 draft between Ole Miss and Slew after a word from our sponsors.